Olivia, my sister, mentioned they're coming over tomorrow afternoon. I'm sorry for always causing you trouble. Oh really? No problem. Should I prepare some snacks for tomorrow morning? I apologize that this keeps happening. It's like they don't have any boundaries. It's fine. I recently heard about a cute pastry place from a colleague. I'll go there to buy something. Aaron, my husband, is a 35-year-old office worker, 3 years older than me. We met at the office and got married later. He's always confident and a truly wonderful husband. He's such a nice guy and he is popular with the ladies. He is 178 centimeters tall and looks slim with a well-proportioned face. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say 100 out of 100 people would find him handsome. If he's good-looking and considerate, it's not surprising he is popular. However, it may be surprising that such a man married a tomboyish woman like me. Whatever age looks, especially his sisters, seem to feel strongly about this. Aaron, look, I got the recipe from my shop and made this myself. Wow, you cooked this. That's a surprise. You've never cooked before. Great job. Isn't this cool? I will enjoy it with Olivia later. Aaron, guess what? I've been getting a lot of praise at my new job. They say I'm good at what I do. Amelia, it sounds like things are going well for you. It's great that you're being recognized. You're doing an excellent job. The two sisters-in-law, Emma and Amelia, truly adore their brother, my husband. Even when they visit our house, they don't show much interest in me. It's tough with both of them always clinging to him and calling him Aaron. However, their deep trust and pride in him show how reliable he is. I found it in dealing with Olivia. Your bangs look weird. They're split in the middle. You should fix it. Really? Is it that noticeable? As the wife of my brother, you should look presentable. Wow, you're always so strict with looks. Afterwards, Emma kept pointing out how unsuitable. I stand by my husband, refusing to succumb to the sisters' attempts to force agreement. Despite their insistence, my kind and wonderful husband never once aligns with them. You two don't truly understand Olivia's good side, he always asserts with absolute conviction. Suddenly, Emma and Amelia, looking displeased, retreat home. I'm sorry for always putting you through this, Olivia. It's because I've spoiled them. My husband apologizes, as he often does. They always end up being rude to you. After her sisters depart, my husband offers his comforting presence, a consistent source of solace. That's the kind of husband he is, which is why he's so attractive, I muse inwardly. Furthermore, he excels in his career, showcasing remarkable talent week after week. The following week, we embark on a visit to his parents' house to celebrate my mother-in-law's birthday. A mere 15-minute drive separates our home from hers, with an MTA station and the city's main shopping area in between. For her birthday gift, we opt for a beautiful sweater. My active mother-in-law frequents the gym, enjoys dining out, and relishes travels with friends. During our shopping trip, my husband accompanies me, admiring the chosen garment. It looks lovely, he remarks, reinforcing his support and appreciation. When we gave her the present, she was thrilled. Thank you as always, Olivia. This is so lovely. My friends are throwing me a birthday party next week, and I'm thinking of wearing it then. It's great. We always appreciate you, Olivia. My mother-in-law and father-in-law always acknowledge and respect me greatly. When I decided to marry my husband and first met them, to be honest, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Both of my in-laws seemed to have stiff expressions and I felt a distance, which made me uneasy. I later learned that my husband had once considered marrying another woman 8 years ago and had introduced her to his parents. However, her attitude towards her potential in-laws wasn't good, and it became clear through discussions that she was only interested in my husband's looks, and eventually the marriage was cut off. Therefore, initially, my in-laws were concerned that I might be another woman who was only interested in their son's appearance. However, after a while, my in-laws seemed to be reassured that I'm not interested only in his looks. Now, we have built a very good relationship. Byron, you're here. Emma, who had just finished her part-time job, came home. Byron, there is something. I want to tell you, I've decided to get married. Really? Congratulations, Emma. While I was surprised to hear about Emma's decision to get married, I noticed that my in-laws looked worried. She's going to marry a man from the restaurant where she worked part-time. He is 40, 12 years older than her. I thought my in-laws were concerned about the age gap, but they were actually worried that the man seems to have no savings. Despite their warnings, Emma insisted he is wonderful and kind, perhaps even resembling her brother, and that she can persuade him to start saving money. Even though Emma feels that everything is fine, it seems that the in-laws are not so easily convinced. My husband seemed to understand the situation and said, "Is that so, Emma? Is he a good person?" He listened intently to her story about him. 2 weeks later, my sister-in-law visited our apartment again. We had dinner ready for them since they were coming in the evening. As we all enjoyed dinner together, my husband said, "This hamburger steak is one of Olivia's specialties. It's so delicious, right?" I immediately reacted with apparent annoyance. "It doesn't seem like a big job. I can cook this too. Don't act like you're a good chef, Olivia." Exactly. Making hamburger steak is too easy. Despite this, the topic turned to Emma's impending marriage. "Emma, don't you think it's a bit too soon? Haven't you only been dating for 2 months? Maybe you could take a bit more time to get to know each other better," my husband suggested. Emma, usually obedient to him, grew angry. "Mind your own business, Aaron. I've already made up my mind. He might seem unreliable, but he is a kind and good person. I love him. He may not be impressive, but he's honest and cute. I'm going to marry him." "Emma, even though he is 20 years older than you, I don't see him as the honest and cute person you are imagining. It might be better to watch and wait a bit." "Why are you intervening too? Are you mocking me? Who do you think you are?" "That's right. Emma has made up her mind. Let's go, Amelia. I've had enough." In anger, Emma left her apartment with Amelia. Several days later, "Amelia, I've come up with something interesting." "What is it?" "Remember last time when Olivia started to act like a big sister?" It seemed Emma was still angry about the advice that I've given her about her marriage. Emma's interesting idea was, one day, I stopped at an ATM on my way home from work. There was a credit card left at the ATM. The card belonged to someone named Isabella Smith, coincidentally having the same surname as me, Smith. A sticker with the PIN number was attached, making the card easily usable by anyone. As I learned to turn it into the police, I constantly ran into my sister's in-laws on my way. "Hey Olivia, are you on your way home right now?" Emma asked. "Yes, I am. It's rare to see you here," I replied. "Olivia, I'm really hungry. Can you treat us to some food?" Emma requested. I was very surprised. This was so unlikely of her. "Really? Of course I would. Let me check with Aaron. Just wait a moment." When I sent a message to Aaron, he replied saying he'd be late and told me to go ahead. "What are you in the mood to eat?" I asked. "I'd like some pasta," Emma said. "Me too. I want pasta," Amelia chimed in. Following their request, the three of us headed to a fancy Italian restaurant. Emma ordered pescatelle and Amelia ordered bolognese. I ordered carbonara. We talked about my husband while eating, enjoying hearing stories of how he protected them from bullies and helped them with their studies. Our pasta arrived, and as we were eating and chatting, suddenly Amelia exclaimed, "Oh, I'm sorry." Some of her bolognese sauce had splashed onto my white shirt, leaving the big stain. "Olivia, you might want to go to the restroom to clean that stain," Emma suggested. "You're right, I should," I agreed. Heading to the restroom, I left my seat with just my handkerchief. By the time I returned as the boss had finished their meals, quickly I ate the remaining pasta and we left the restaurant. "I'm really sorry about staining your shirt," Amelia apologized. "It's all right, it wasn't a special shirt anyway," I reassured her. "Thanks for the treat today," Emma said. "You're welcome. It was really fun hearing stories about Aaron. Let's do it again," I suggested. "Yeah, let's. See ya. Take care," they bid farewell. It was so happy to finally have a proper conversation with my sisters-in-law. However, I completely forgot about the credit card I had collected at the ATM. Turns out, Emma had gotten a hold of it. "That was so easy. That stupid woman, she's so clueless," Emma remarked. "It's not like I wanted her to treat us to a meal. She really should have noticed. She said the shirt wasn't special, right? Well, it didn't look expensive. Also, she has a card made under the fake name Mia," Amelia added. "Really? That's suspicious. People say you can judge a book by its cover." "Hey, what if she was a criminal?" Emma pondered. Their aim was not a dinner together, but my credit card. Specifically, Emma wanted to use my card to pay for an extravagant honeymoon. However, I did not have a credit card. But that evening, Emma booked her honeymoon to Hawaii using the card. I discovered it was an extravagant plan involving a stay at a luxury hotel. The following month, I heard from Aaron that Emma got married without the ceremony and left for her honeymoon. Emma kept talking about marriage, but I thought she was just dreaming. I wonder if she is alright. I have a feeling there's something off about her partner. While having dinner with my husband, I got a call from Emma. As soon as I answered, I heard an extremely excited voice say, "Thanks for the $30,000 gift." "Wait, Emma, aren't you on your honeymoon in Hawaii?" I asked. "That's right, I'm calling from Hawaii right now," she exclaimed. "Sounds like you're having fun, but what do you mean by a $30,000 gift? I paid for this entire animal with your credit card, so you will have to cover the church," Emma revealed. "What do you mean? I used your credit card to pay for everything," she confessed. "What? I don't have a credit card," I exclaimed. "Huh? I thought this card was yours," Emma replied, confusion evident in her voice. After a while, Emma returned from her honeymoon. She was questioned by Aaron and the in-laws for the details, and she eventually spilled the beans. According to Emma, she wanted to go on a honeymoon and also wanted to get back at me for interfering in her marriage. She thought it would be a good idea to pay for the honeymoon using my credit card. She had plotted beforehand, unbeknownst to me, and using the excuse of treating me to a meal, she stole the credit card from my bag. However, the credit card was not mine. Emma committed a crime by unauthorized use of a stranger's credit card, spending $30,000 in total. This is a serious issue. We contacted the credit card company and tried to negotiate a settlement with the owner. Surprisingly, the credit card owner turned out to be our relative, Isabella. Considering the family relationship, we thought the settlement would go smoothly. However, this particular relative was quite eccentric. For some reason, she had a grudge against my mother-in-law and was not someone who would easily forgive us. Together with my in-law's husband and Emma, we visited Isabella's house to apologize. I deeply apologize for what Emma has done. Of course, we will immediately return the $30,000. Isn't this an unauthorized card usage? Doesn't she know that this is a serious crime? Of course, Emma always acts without thinking of the consequences, and this time she used $30,000. We are truly sorry. Give me a reason why I shouldn't go to the police. Forgive her. We're family, right? A crime is a crime, whether we are related or not. It doesn't matter. Also, will Emma herself repay the $30,000 she used without permission? Emma is a part-timer with no savings, so I will initially take on the responsibility of repayment. Do you think just repaying the money will resolve this? Don't joke with me. The discussion between the father-in-law and Isabella didn't progress and ended up dragging on, finally deciding to discuss it again on another day. Later, on the third visit, Isabella finally agreed to the father-in-law paying the $30,000. Moreover, she then demanded an additional compensation of $5,000. The father-in-law complied, even with this unreasonable demand, and transferred a total of $35,000 to the end account. Subsequently, Emma ended up owing $35,000 to her father. To ensure she wouldn't default, a legally valid promissory note was also prepared. Emma's husband, who went on a honeymoon to Hawaii with her, disappeared as soon as he found out about Emma's debt of $35,000. To protect himself, he initiated a divorce and fled from his newlywed wife, Emma. Moreover, he quickly started living with another woman before the divorce procedures were even finalized. He is a 40-year-old man who is 12 years older than Emma, without any savings, and can hold a job, but apparently he had a way with the ladies. Emma married him, being charmed by his unreliable yet cute demeanor. I do feel a bit of sympathy for Emma. Furthermore, Emma is the same age as Jacqueline, who is the daughter of Isabella, the owner of the credit card. They went to the same school from elementary to high school, but they were in different classes and had a competitive relationship rather than a friendly one. Jacqueline spread the word to their classmates. Emma is a criminal with a debt of $35,000. Watch out for her. Be careful with your wallet. Consequently, even Emma's old friends started distancing themselves from her. However, after these events, Emma's attitude towards me changed. They used to be competitive with me, but they have slowly started to respect me, and they plan to visit my house again tomorrow. They want me to teach them how to make hamburger steak.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Skyla, and it was my sister-in-law, Julia, who encouraged me to share my story. Julia and I share a strong bond, having worked together before I met my now husband Noah through her. I am truly grateful to Julia for introducing us, and Noah and I have built a wonderful life together. While Julia and Noah are fantastic people, Noah's mother Susan is a different story. Upon our introduction, Susan openly expressed her dislike for me, creating tension in our relationship. Despite Noah's efforts to change his mother's opinion, Susan remained hostile. Over time, I realized the extent of her problematic behavior, especially during our wedding, where she falsely accused me of ruining her dress. Noah and I frequently clashed over his mother, but Susan's presence persisted. Being a single mom, Susan held onto Noah tightly, making it difficult for him to cut ties. The turning point occurred on our first anniversary when Julia warned me about Susan's plan to humiliate me. Susan, determined to tarnish my image, intended to frame me for stealing her heirloom necklace. Despite my attempts to intervene, Susan remained steadfast in her malicious intentions. This revelation added another layer of stress to our already strained relationship, as I navigated the challenges of preserving my marriage while dealing with Susan's disruptive presence. As our first anniversary approached, I faced the dilemma of inviting Susan or protecting my peace of mind. Despite Noah's desire to include his mother, the looming threat of Susan's schemes cast a shadow over what should have been a joyous occasion with close friends and family. I had hoped for a joyful celebration with everyone, but Susan's presence cast a shadow over the occasion. Despite learning about her plans from Julia, I hesitated to inform Noah. I believed he needed to confront the reality of his mother's actions and sever ties with her. Vigilant, I kept a watchful eye on Susan, but never caught her in the act. As the day of the anniversary party arrived, Julia and I remained unable to intercept Susan. However, the situation took a turn when Susan approached me with a menacing threat. During the party, as I was refilling my drink, she cornered me and accused me of orchestrating a scheme to take Noah away from her. Confused by her baseless claims, I questioned her connection between my marriage anniversary and her perceived competition. Undeterred, Susan insisted that I was responsible for Noah distancing himself from her. Her ominous warning hinted at the impending drama she had planned. Julia stayed close, recognizing the potential for Susan's disruptive behavior. As the party continued, Susan excused herself to put on her jewelry, only to return in distress, claiming her necklace and earrings were missing. Julia and I exchanged knowing glances, realizing that Susan had orchestrated a scheme to frame me. Despite Susan's theatrical display of distress, we maintained our composure, silently observing her attempts to convince the guests that I had stolen her jewelry. As people questioned her about the missing items, Susan tearfully responded, but suddenly feigned realization and exclaimed, "Wait a minute now. I understand that my jewelry has been stolen. I have a strong suspicion about who might have taken it." "Mom, what are you talking about? I'm sure you have misplaced it, and it's lying somewhere here. We don't have many visitors, so how could it get stolen?" "Noah, you don't understand. No one broke into the house or came from outside to steal my precious jewelry. It is your greedy wife who took it." Susan's accusation left everyone gasping, as she pointed directly at me as the culprit. Noah appeared shocked and somewhat embarrassed by his mother's words. Yet, I knew he trusted me implicitly and wouldn't entertain the idea for a moment that I'd stolen from his mom. Despite his love for his mother, his trust in me remained steadfast. "No, Mom, I don't think this is fair. You're throwing false accusations at Skyla. She would never do something like this. You must have misplaced it." No, Noah, you have to believe me. Remember how Skyla gushed about my heirloom jewelry? She knew I would never let her have it, so she stole it from me. "Mom, those are baseless accusations. Skyla was merely complimenting the design. She never once asked you to give her the necklace." "Noah, my poor child, you are blinded by love. You have to see how vile and greedy your wife is. She is the one who stole my jewelry. That's why she never asked to borrow it from me. She wanted it for herself." At this point, Noah and Susan engaged in a heated argument. while the rest of the guests watched in disbelief. It was deeply embarrassing to be accused of theft on my own anniversary, something I never anticipated. However, I resolved to handle the situation with dignity. Susan, you have some nerve to make accusations about me in my own home. You think I'm a lowly thief who would go after your jewelry? You are dead wrong. I am above that. Don't try to act all innocent and angelic, Skyla. I know for a fact that you took my jewelry last night. I saw you going into my room and coming out of the bag. I didn't think anything of it since it's your house, but now it all makes sense. You were stealing my jewelry. Susan, you need to stop making baseless assumptions. You have no right to ruin my reputation without any evidence. Who knows what you did with your jewelry? Don't blame it on me. Okay then, if I'm lying, why don't we go and check your room? I am 100% positive that I will find my jewelry there. We have plenty of witnesses as well. Noah, you cannot just invade our privacy like that. It's rude and disrespectful. Leave it be. At this point, I don't care, Noah. Your mom has taken it too far. If we don't allow it, everyone here will always doubt that I am a thief. It's a big allegation, Noah. Noah looked torn between his loyalty to his mother and his trust in me. While he understood his mother's frustration, he also recognized the severity of her accusations without evidence. It was clear that I needed to do everything possible to clear my name. So Noah relented and told his mom to go check our room. As we all went, people started looking around, including Susan, the woman who had stirred up this unnecessary drama. She went straight to my closet, pulled out the jewelry box, and exclaimed, "Look, Noah, I found my jewelry. It was in your wife's closet." I was right. She freaking stole my stuff because she is greedy and jealous. No, this is impossible. I know my wife wouldn't steal jewelry from you. I don't know how it got there. You didn't take it, right, Skyla? Of course, I didn't, Noah. You know I'm not a thief. Oh, really, Skyla? Then how did my previous jewelry set end up in your closet? There is no way you can get out of this, Skyla. You should have confessed and given me my stuff back. I'm sorry, Noah, but I think I need to call the police. Noah stood there looking dumbfounded while Susan called the police. Whispers circulated around the room, and many couldn't believe what they were witnessing. It was peak humiliation for me, but I stayed composed, waiting for the police to arrive as Susan berated me, calling me names and saying awful things. She said, "Noah, this is it. I know you didn't believe me when I said that Skyla is a gold digger. I'm sure now you know that I was right. You need to get smart and divorce her. No one wants a thief in the family. She will get arrested by the cops now anyway." Mom, I don't think it was wise of you to call the cops. You may not like what happens next. What do you mean, Julia? I wasn't going to let Skyla get away with theft. People who commit crimes should be punished. There should be no room for mercy, or else they will get worse. I think Julia is right, Susan. You shouldn't have called the cops. This will only turn worse for you. But since you already called the cops, there's no going back. How will this turn worse for me when you are the one committing a crime? I would love to see that smug smile off your face. At that point, I started to laugh. Julia was smirking and shaking her head. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy, supposedly getting arrested, but I was laughing anyway. After calming down, I said, "Susan, I must say you had a brilliant plan in mind. It's truly remarkable how you carefully planned to trap me and make me look like a thief." What do you mean? You are a thief since you stole my stuff. Oh God, Mom, have some shame. You are really crossing all limits. We know that Skyla didn't steal your jewelry. It's all a trap you set to make her look guilty. Julia shocked everyone with that declaration. Susan looked a little nervous, but she wasn't giving up her plan. She acted innocent and clueless, saying, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Julia is the thief. Quit the act." Susan, you thought that you could plan to trap me and I wouldn't know. Julia told me everything. She told me you were going to accuse me of theft and trap me. I had known it before the party. How dare you say that? You are influencing my poor child and making her say things you have no proof of your claims, Mom. We didn't have proof that you told me about your plan, but we do have a better way to prove what you did. That's right. Now, to protect my reputation, I will tell you what proof I have. You called the cops, so I would have had to reveal this anyway. What do you mean, Skyla? What proof are you talking about? Did you forget that we have cameras in the house? Guys, the look on Susan's face was priceless. She turned as white as a ghost and started to shake a little. She had totally forgotten this fact. Maybe she assumed we only had cameras in the front yard. She may not have thought that the inside of my house also had cameras. Noah also suddenly remembered this, and he said, "That's right. Even I forgot about the cameras. We have cameras in the hallway with a clear view of every room from outside. We can check that for the true story." "Why would we do that, Noah? I'm your mom, and I'm telling you that Skyla stole from me. We don't have to prove my words. Why are you going back now?" "Mom, I thought you wanted to get to the bottom of this. I don't believe for a second that my wife is a thief. Even if you don't want to see the proof, I do. I need to see with my own eyes that she stole from you. Otherwise, I wouldn't believe it." Susan did her best to stop Noah from seeing the CCTV footage. I pulled out the saved footage on my phone, and we started to look through the videos. Meanwhile, the cops arrived and were given a brief rundown by everyone. Susan immediately went to them and said, "Officers, you need to arrest my daughter-in-law, Skylar. She stole my jewelry. We found it in her closet. She's a criminal. You need to arrest her now." "I don't think so, Susan. Officers, I have proof that my mother-in-law trapped me and is making false claims against me." "Mom, do you have solid proof against your mother-in-law?" "I do have solid proof. Actually, my home has cameras. This is the footage it recorded from yesterday. I handed my phone to the officers to see. Noah and the rest saw that footage later. The footage clearly showed that Susan took her jewelry box from her room and went into my room when I wasn't home. When she came out, she didn't have the box with her. It proved that Susan had put her jewelry box in my room on purpose." Everyone was shocked, and Noah straight up started to shout at Susan. Susan looked at him with fear in her eyes and actually started to cry. I had never seen Noah so angry. He said, "Mom, how could you do this to my wife? Skyla has been nothing but kind to you, and you backstab her like this. What is wrong with you?" "Noah, please let me explain." "No, just no. I don't want to hear anything from you, Mom. I'm done. I am so done with you. You tried to destroy my wife's life and reputation on our anniversary. I will never forgive that. I seriously cannot believe how low you stooped, Mom. God, I'm ashamed of having a mom like you. I don't think I want any contact with you from now on." "Julia, you are absolutely right in your decision. In fact, I have the same thing in mind. Mom, we are done. Don't ever come near me or my wife again. We will go no contact with you." Hearing that, Susan started to cry loudly. She clutched Noah's arm and tried to reason with Julia as well, begging them to forgive her. It was prophetic, and the guests were shaking their heads at Susan. Most of the guests were family, so they didn't hold back their criticisms against Susan. Not one person stood in her support. Finally, the cops told me, "Mom, do you know that you can file a report against your mother-in-law for these false accusations?" "Yes, I do know that, officer. Thanks for reminding me, though. So, would you like to go ahead and press charges?" "I would suggest you do that. We will arrest her now and get her out of your way. I see you have a party to host." "Yes, officers, I would like to press charges. Please arrest her and accept my apology for this drama." "Noah, you don't mind, do you?" "Absolutely not, Skyla. What Mom did was horribly wrong. You should be pressing charges. I give you my full support." Suddenly, it was all too much for our dear Susan. The cops descended on her and began handcuffing her while she struggled. They warned her that they could charge her for resisting arrest, but Susan wasn't in her right mind. She screamed and cried while begging Noah, Julie, and even me for forgiveness. "Skyla, please don't do this to me. I'm your mother-in-law." What will people say when they see me get arrested? You didn't care when you called the cops on me, now did you? Why should I care? I'm right to get you arrested. You have wronged me. I'm sorry, Styla. I shouldn't have done this. Look, we're family. We can solve this between ourselves. There is no need to get the cops involved now. Now, Susan, I distinctly remember you saying that criminals should not be spared, or else they will get worse. Seeing that you can easily evolve into a menace to this society, I absolutely have a duty as a concerned citizen to get you arrested. Susan looked shocked when I threw her words back at her. She also kept crying and mumbling apologies while everyone criticized her. The cops didn't waste much time and took her away. Noah and I went with them to the police station to file a report. Meanwhile, Julie stayed behind to tend to the guests. After Noah and I got to the police station, we filed an official report. I was going to sue her for good. She had done enough damage in my life and escalated badly. But still, I wanted Noah to be completely on board with me too. Noah, are you sure you're okay with this? If you're not comfortable with a police report, we can always go back. No, Skyla, we're not going back without a police report. We need to do this now. I have failed to protect you from my mom. She was about to destroy your life. I can't put this past me. You know that I didn't doubt you for a second, right? I know, Noah. Your mom being a psycho is not your fault. It's completely on her. Noah felt very guilty for not being able to protect me better. I understood his pain. He did love his mom very much. It's difficult to know that the woman who gave birth to you is an evil woman. But he still gave me the go-ahead to file the report, and so I did. He also promised never to let Susan back in our lives. We agreed to go to couples counseling to get a better grip on our marriage. Noah and I did return to the party, and we decided to continue with the celebration. The food was there, the people were there, and we were surrounded by supportive family and friends. We had no reason to just discard everything for one person. It was our anniversary after all. So, we resumed the celebrations and had a blast. Julia also had a great time too. All this while, my dear mother-in-law Susan was rotting in jail. So Susan didn't want the case to go to court after all. She made a settlement with my lawyer. I got a decent chunk of money while she got away with what she did. I really hope she changes her behavior after that. I say I hope because we are no longer in contact with Susan. Noah, me, and Julia all cut her off, as did some of her family members. The others simply don't entertain her anymore, but didn't block her straight away. I mean, who knows when she would fancy trapping other family members out of spite. Anyway, since we cut contact with Susan, my marriage improved a lot. The couple's counseling helped as well. We are currently expecting our first child and plan to keep our dear son away from Susan too. I must share something difficult with you. My girlfriend, who is 20 years younger than me, is expecting a child. I have a preference for younger partners, so I've made the decision to get a divorce. Is that okay with you? All right. If you want a divorce, go ahead, but please take good care of our son. What? You should take the boy with you. Haven't you spoiled him enough? No, I can't. Because he is? I closed my mouth right there. If this conversation were to remain between us, there wouldn't be any problem. However, Ken must have overheard it from his place in the room. What would he think if he heard this? That was my only concern. Still, I must respond. Otherwise, this man will not understand the gravity of the situation. Destroying our happiness and only thinking about his own, that's too selfish. I won't stand for it. Just as our happiness was taken away, I want to take his away too. Driven by such feelings, I decided to confront Ted with a shocking truth. My name is Mila Davis. I am 41 years old, living with my husband Ted and our high school junior son Ken. I married Ted 13 years ago when I was 28. Back then, I was an insurance saleswoman visiting various companies to sell insurance. That's when I met Ted, who was working at a local import-export business, having recently divorced his wife. My wife cheated on me and left me. Now I'm living with my 5-year-old son, just the two of us, And it's pretty lonely, he said, looking somewhat sorrowful. Every time I visited Ted's company for work, I started talking to him. Eventually, Ted asked me, "Would you like to go out together?" But we never went out, just the two of us, because Ted always brought his son Ken along. He can't stay at home alone, right? I'd really love for you to be my son's new mom, but I guess you wouldn't want to marry a man with a child, he said. Seeing him like that, I thought he truly cherishes his child. If he could care for a child like that, then surely he'd care for his family. So I decided to marry Ted. But that was all a performance to marry me. In fact, as soon as we got married, Ted changed. I quit my job and became a housewife. Housework and childcare became my job, which wasn't a problem, but Ted started neglecting Ken. Before our marriage, he even brought Ken along on our dates. But after our marriage, he didn't even look at Ken, not just on weekdays, but even on weekends. Ted never talked to Ken, never took him out, never played with him, nothing. Even after Ken started elementary school, Ted's attitude didn't change. I went to all the school events alone, and he totally ignored all events that parents should join and enjoy together. You could at least attend some of the school events with Ken, I told him once. Ted made a grimace, signed annoyance, and said, "Sorry, but I'm just tired from work." What? Oh, be quiet. Taking care of our son is your job as his mother, right? Just do it properly, he shouted, ending the conversation. What happened to the man I knew before we got married? I felt a twinge of regret. Then, one day, Ken had just come home from elementary school and was helping me prepare dinner when a message from Ted arrived on my phone. Wait, what? He's bringing his subordinates home from now on. Apparently, he was going to bring several colleagues home. Ted had just been promoted to team leader, so he probably wanted to deepen his relationship with his new subordinates. What should I do? We don't have any food stored. They would surely end up drinking at our home. And if that's the case, we'll need some snacks. It's not even an hour's drive from the office to our home. After some thought, I decided to go to the nearby supermarket to buy some ingredients. When I arrived home, I immediately started cooking in a rush. I'll help too, offered Ken. Oh, thank you. Then, could you please get the dishes ready? We worked hard, but there were limits to what we could prepare. Ted arrived home when only about half of the preparations were done. I'm home. Hey, I brought my colleagues, Ted shouted at the entrance. I greeted them briefly and led them to the room, serving beer and snacks. As I contemplated the next dish, Ted came into the kitchen and asked, "Hey, what's happening with the food?" I told you in advance. I'm cooking right now. There are snacks, so it should be okay for now. What have you been doing? If you could notify me a bit earlier, stop complaining. You should have this ready. Do you want me to be embarrassed? I was shouted at and left speechless. There were countless things I wanted to rebut, but the sound in the kitchen could be heard in the living room. The guests must have felt uncomfortable too. Thinking so, I couldn't say anything in response. In the end, I silently endured our guests, but once they had left, I had a big fight with Ted. I was angry at Ted for shouting at me just because of his own convenience. Ted puckered his lips and said in a childish manner, "Okay, fine. I'll have a party and some venues from now on. Happy now." After that, Ted started hanging out more. His spending got wilder, and he would head out early on his days off. By then, Ken had become a 7th grade student, and it started costing money for things like after-school programs. That's when I talked to Ted about wanting to start a part-time job. A part-time job? What, you want money for leisure? No, that's not it. It's for things like Ken's tuition for the after-school programs. Oh, I see. Do whatever you want. Even though Ted, perhaps because he was drunk, gave a careless response, I got his word, and so I started a part-time job as an insurance agent. I asked a former boss from the company I worked at before marriage to make me a part-time employee. This should make things a little easier. Even then, because Ted complained, I couldn't slack off on housework. The time I could work was limited, and I had to prepare dinner before Ted got home. I managed my time well and kept working. Then, one day, I accidentally let work run late. I hurried home, but Ted had already returned. As soon as he saw me, Ted asked with a sullen face, "Where have you been?" "I was at my part-time job." "Part-time job? You weren't cheating on me, were you?" Ted stared at me intently. "There's no way that's true." I denied it firmly, but Ted kept looking at me with suspicious eyes. Just as I was wondering what to do, Ted reached out for my smartphone. "Let me see. I'll check if there are any men's names." "Stop it. Shut up." Ted forcefully snatched my phone and began to check the contacts. He quickly found my boss's name. "Hey, who's this? It's a man's name, isn't it? He's your lover, ain't he? All right then." Before I could react, Ted dialed my boss. "Stop it. You just keep quiet." Thankfully, the misunderstanding was cleared up quickly. I extended my sincere apologies to my boss, urging Ted to do the same. However, he simply looked away, blaming me for making the situation appear dubious. "Your fault for making it look like you're doing something wrong," he insisted. Since then, our relationship took a downward turn. Even as Ken progressed to the 9th grade, nothing changed. I couldn't help but question whether it was okay to continue in this strained relationship. Despite my concerns, I struggled to find a way to mend our relationship. Before I knew it, Ken had become a senior in high school, preparing for college. Recently, the atmosphere between Ted and me had turned icy, and arguments at home became rare. At least this way, it wouldn't adversely affect Ken's studies. I thought things could remain like this until Ken entered college. Then, one day, my job required me to be near Ted's workplace. If our relationship had been better, I would have invited him to lunch. As I muttered this, I noticed Ted's car across the intersection. Wait, is that Ted? With who? Squinting, I saw two people laughing and chatting, and the word infidelity flashed in my mind. Accusing others of infidelity while doing it yourself, what a joke. I was too stunned to say anything. Secretly, I took a picture of them and went to a private detective to investigate Ted. I probably knew the answer already. The idea of divorce was already planted in my mind. But evidence was crucial, so I waited for the results of the investigation. About a month later, the results arrived, and they were damning. He really had the nerve. Just divorcing didn't seem enough anymore. How should I get back at him? On a certain day off, lost in my thoughts, Ted, who was supposed to be out, came home unexpectedly. Rushing over to me, he explained, "I'm sorry, but my girlfriend, who's 20 years younger, is pregnant." What? I couldn't believe my ears, but there he was, a smirk on his face, declaring, "So yeah, my girlfriend, who's 20 years younger, is pregnant. I prefer younger women, so I'm gonna divorce you. That's fine, right?" Well, he certainly had the guts to confess his affair himself. However, I saw this as an opportunity. With this in mind, I decided to seize the moment. "Go ahead and get married, but please take care of our son." With a smile on my face, I said this, seemingly catching Ted off guard. "What? You should take our son with you. I've always been so fond of him." "I don't want to, because that boy is—" I carefully chose my words, aware that Ken, studying in his room, could hear me. What would he think if he heard this? That was my only concern. Nevertheless, if I didn't stand up to him now, he wouldn't understand the gravity of the situation. It was far too convenient for him to destroy our happiness and go off to find his own. I wouldn't let that happen. I wanted to snatch away his happiness, just like ours was taken from us, driven by these thoughts. I decided to confront Ted with a truth that would stun him. "I hate to break it to you, but isn't Ken your son?" "He's not mine." "What are you talking about? We're married, right?" "If we're married, then our child is our child, right?" Ted declared, looking smug. At that moment, I was at a loss for words. Is this guy an idiot? He's 4 years older than me, and he knows nothing. I was too stunned to say anything, surprised at his lack of understanding. I exhaled deeply and hit Ted with the truth. "Ken is your child with your ex-wife, right?" "So what?" "In other words, to me, Ken is your stepchild." To make a stepchild one's own, one must adopt them. Ha, adoption. Ted furrowed his brow. Generally speaking, stepchildren remain just that, stepchildren. To act as a real parent, the only way is to adopt them legally. Without doing that, you can't have parental rights, and the child won't be legally recognized as yours. Of course, socially. They may be seen as your children, but there's no legal binding. A step-parent has no legal obligations, and a stepchild has no rights to the parent's inheritance. I explained to Ted, I didn't adopt kin when I married you. That's why I can't take kin with me. Hold on, so does that mean I have to take care of kin? That seems to be the case. Although I wouldn't say you be charged with parental negligence just for leaving him alone. Ken is a high school student, an age where parents are obligated to raise their children. In other words, it can be said that Ted can't just abandon him. While looking stunned, Ted pleaded with me, come on, that can't be right. What can't? I have a baby on the way, and I plan to live with my newborn and my soon-to-be wife, just the three of us. That was the condition for marrying Kay. Oh, so the woman he cheated with is named Kay. So, that has nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with you. This could all be resolved if you just take kin. But I've told you I can't, right? Just find a way. Please don't ruin my happiness, he begged. Don't ruin his happiness. I was shocked at his audacity. After shattering our happiness, he doesn't get to demand his own happiness. With clenched teeth, I told Ted, no matter what you say, what can't be done can't be done. You should ask your girlfriend Kay. You're truly heartless. Fine, you'll regret this. Ted slammed the table and stood up. As he picked up his cell phone, he walked out of the room, making a call in the hallway. Yeah, that's right, so. I could hear his voice. Eventually, Ted came back and said to me, just wait. I'm bringing Kay over. What? You're bringing her here? Of course, because you're refusing to budge. I have no other choice. For some reason, Ted shouted angrily, seeming to believe he wasn't in the wrong. Well, we still have to discuss the division of property, and this might make things easier. With that thought, I quietly watched Ted leave. About an hour had passed since Ted left the house. He returned, bringing a woman with him. As I stole a glance at her, she greeted with a look of discontent. Ah, hi! She didn't even attempt to meet my gaze. I could somewhat understand her feelings. Meeting the spouse of the person you're having an affair with, no matter how you think of it, cannot be a pleasant experience. Regardless, Kay turned out to be the woman who had been in Ted's car that day. I can't deny thinking it's all because of this woman, but thanks to her, I can bring Ted down to his lowest. With that thought, a smile naturally spilled onto my face. How should I start the conversation? While I was considering this, Kay spoke up first. You're Myler, right? Don't you think your child is adorable? You've lived together for about 13 years, haven't you? Are you talking about Ken? If so, I do think he's adorable. I consider him as much my child as if he were my own. Then why are you abandoning him? You should take him with you. I stared at Kay, sweat beginning to bead on her forehead. I knew it. She condemns me with her words, but she doesn't truly mean it. I recalled the results of the investigation into Ted's conduct. If the current situation described there about Ken is true, it makes sense why she would argue like this. So I decided to shake them up. I'd love to take him with me, but no matter how adorable he is and no matter how much I love him, legally only Ted is Ken's parent. I can't become Ken's parent. But yes, there's also the option of not getting a divorce, and you need to raise your child by yourself. Upon hearing this, Kay flinched. She then turned to Ted and said, I can't raise a baby on my own. Don't worry, I'll take care of our child. Besides, I'm definitely getting a divorce, and I want to be with you. At that point, I interrupted. What are you talking about? It hasn't been decided whether we're getting a divorce yet. Shut up. I'm definitely getting a divorce, so you're taking Ken with you. We're gonna discuss that later. We're getting nowhere. Okay, what do you think? I turned the conversation over to Kay. She made a pout and said, I can't raise someone else's child, even if it's the child of the man you love. Course not. I love Ted, not some child of Ted and another woman. Oh, I see. But isn't your argument a bit strange? Why do you want to raise someone else's child? That's your personal opinion, and I won't blame you for it. But you're okay with making Ted raise another person's child, right? As soon as I said that, Kay's face turned suddenly pale. At the same time, Ted tilted his head, questioning, What are you talking about? I'm talking about the baby, Kay's baby in her belly. This child is mine. I told you that before. While Ted seemed puzzled, I continued, You did say that, but it's odd. According to what I investigated, the father of Kay's child should be another man. As soon as I broke the news, Ted turned to Kay. With her face pale, Kay looked down, and Ted stared at her. The whole scene was so ridiculous that I nearly burst into laughter. Ted interrogated Kay, asking if what I said was true. Kay banged on the table, arguing back, Don't be stupid. The father of this child is you, Ted. But I calmly told her, That's not true. I have proof. Look. Saying this, I laid out a single photo on the table, an image obtained through a private investigation. The picture showed Kay and an unknown man talking in front of an obstetrician's office. With a private investigation, they also checked if she was cheating. According to that, she had a man she was seeing, and the child in her belly was his. Kay started to stutter, unable to speak. Seeing her like this, Ted seemed to have understood everything, collapsing in despair. That's why you should divorce me and raise the child together, I suggested. Well, Ted, you'll be raising someone else's child. But okay, you're okay with that, right? No way. Don't forget about Ken, okay? Ted pleaded. Wait, let's get back together, Mela. If I break up with her, you won't divorce, right? What? You're saying whatever suits you. Sorry, but I was also planning to divorce, so this comes at the right time. And I'll claim a hefty division of property. Saying so, I slammed the evidence of their cheating on the table, photos of the two of them cheating, including Kay and the unknown man. Ted picked up one of the photos and shouted at Kay, This lying woman. It's all ruined because of you. That's my line. You should have thought I would prefer a younger man, Kay retorted. Suddenly, Ted and Kay started fighting amongst themselves. Fed up, I said, Take your fight somewhere else, and kicked them out of the house. After that, I went to Ken's room, gently knocking on the door. Ken peeked out. I'm sorry. You heard the conversation, didn't you? Well, yeah, but that was all on my dad. It's not like it's your fault or anything. But I'm totally fine, really. I'll be a college student next year, and I'll make my dad pay for the move and then do whatever I want. Ken flashed a slight smile, seeming more mature than I had thought. I was relieved to see my son's growth. However, his father, Ted, has not matured at all. No matter how many times I tried to contact him, he stopped answering my calls. Even after a few days had passed, the situation remained unchanged. The divorce negotiations wouldn't proceed like this, and he doesn't seem to be coming home either. Troubled, I decided to go to Ted's company, but showing up suddenly might just be a nuisance. So I contacted Ted's boss, Mr. Wilson, before heading to his company. When I arrived at the company, Mr. Wilson promptly attended to me and summoned Ted to his office. At the same time, he also called for Kay. With the two of them in front of me, I addressed Ted. You know why I'm here, right? What's it? Because you won't cooperate with the divorce discussions. How much longer do you intend to avoid addressing this? I asserted with conviction, but Ted simply shrugged in response. On the contrary, Kay remained silent since her arrival. You seem anxious that your boyfriend will discover your affair with Ted, don't you, Kay? I remarked, smirking. She appeared disheartened, as it seemed her true love also worked in the same company. It was only a matter of time before Kay's infidelity was laid bare. Ted resisted cooperation with the divorce discussions until the very end. However, after a stern reprimand from Mr. Wilson, he reluctantly agreed to participate. Well, I'll be heading home now, I announced, and Ted expressed his dissatisfaction. Showing up at my workplace? Are you kidding me? If this tarnishes my reputation, what will you do? You're the one at fault, not me. Besides, an affair won't get you fired. In fact, you can't be fired for having an affair. Ted argued, but I was indifferent. It's not my concern. I came to discuss the divorce. Whether you quit your job or not is not my problem. The same goes for Kay. Well, do your best, I retorted, leaving Ted and Kay at the office. Later, through my lawyer, I successfully secured the division of property from Ted. However, according to Vice Mr. Wilson, complications arose after my departure from his office. The news of their affairs spread rapidly throughout the company, leading to a chain of events. Kay's boyfriend learned about the affair, and they had a significant argument, resulting in an immediate breakup. Enraged by the breakup, Kay demanded compensation from Ted for mental abuse. Naturally, Ted contested her claims, leading to a messy court battle. With the affair becoming public knowledge and court proceedings underway, both Ted and Kay had to leave the company. Ted struggled to find new employment, partly due to his age, and ended up working part-time at a local shop. Kay, pregnant and seeking refuge, retreated to her parents' house. Their lives became entangled in the complexities of the court case, and their reputations suffered. On the flip side, my life was on an upward trajectory. My boss suggested my return as a full-time employee, and I am now diligently working in that capacity. My relationship with Ken, who is focused on college preparations, is thriving. He even introduced me to his girlfriend, expressing his respect for me as a parent despite Ted being his father. Although I am no longer officially his mother, he appreciates my support during this crucial time.